The growing calls across the nation to defund the police.
To end policing as we know it.
Off the charts violence in New York City. 11 people shot in just 8 hours on
This is
Sunday.
about the police officers who every single day put on that uniform and they run towards danger when we run away from it.
Sup? Damn it.
Did you do that on purpose?
No, I tried to do it right this time. Literally talked about it.
This is not even there's no complexity to this. It's just unmute, and then you say the words once you are unmuted.
I did.
You started saying it, and then you
all people heard was,
What? Wait, what? No, I literally unmuted myself at the 18-second mark, and I said, let's
No,
go.
you didn't. I watched it. I watched it unfold in the studio.
It unmuted halfway through you saying it, so it just...
all we heard is,
it's connected to the producers. It's not my computer, so it's not...
Strawberry jam enthusiast in the comments says, Tansey, for fuck's sake.
No, listen, this wasn't my fault this time.
It was your fault. You are in control of your button.
SD card
I am not. The producer is in charge of the
Guys,
button
you need to
now.
understand, before we went live, Tansey called an SD card a microchip. So...
He also blamed me for not doing it on time when literally at that moment he goes, hey, I need you to put the blue banner up that says hammer the like button. I'm like, oh, I gotta get the banner. Then I look back and I'm like, oh shit, it's time. And he's like, guns up!
Except he said guns up, but all we heard is,
I was rushing to hit the unmute button.
Whatever.
Gosh.
Let's just cancel the show today.
This is the beginning of the end. Guns up, giddy up, everyone. Welcome to the Failure to Stop podcast. We can't stop. We won't stop. And if you want to support the show, go to failuretostop.com. Get the Breach Life shirt that Eric's wearing, or you cannot get my police uniform top that I'm wearing. That is not available. We should give people badges, though. We should make
a T-shirt that has that badge and then your name plate on the other side.
We do drop that.
It just says Mike the
You can
Cop
be
on
Mike
one
the
side,
Cop.
or Eric Tansey. We could have both of them.
We should drop that new the podcast department shirt.
Oh yeah. The New York podcast department. It's a funny one.
Wow.
Anyway, man, a lot going on in the news there, Mike.
What today's show, guys, we are going to talk about the Waukesha Massacre, what really is going on there, what really happened, because it's going to be hard to not get slanted information from our lovely journalists out there these days. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Alec Baldwin. We're going to talk about Jussie Smollett. We're going to talk about Ghislaine Maxwell. We're going to talk about Josh Duggar. We're going to talk about a hotly debated shooting in Tucson. So we have a heavy lineup today of items in the news, not the least of which, and we haven't even mentioned, dude, we had a school shooting here, local to me. There's more to talk about than we can possibly fit in the show, but the main thing is going to be this Waukesha Massacre. Want to kind of give you an objective take on that from our perspective, along with everything else. But before we dive into all of the details of today's show, we want to thank our flagship network sponsor, Ghostbed. That's right.
Oh yeah.
Sleep so
Nothing
good,
like
it's scary.
starting the morning, waking up on a ghost bed, coming right in here all rested up, ready to go, and ready to drop a ghost bed ad. As you all know, you guys have been listening for a hot minute. Ghost Bed, made in the USA. One of our favorite flagship sponsors. They've been with us since the beginning. We absolutely love them. The reason why we love them is because they are made in the good old USA. You nailed it. Every mattress has a 20-year warranty. You can try them out for 101 nights, not 99, not 98, but 101, baby. If you don't like it, you can easily send them back. No hard feelings, but you won't. One of our favorite parts about Ghost Bed is that each mattress has that cooling technology in it. So if you get hot at night, like we do here in the North Carolina summers, these babies will keep you cool. Stay hard while staying cool. That's my motto. Ghost Bed offers bundles so that you can get everything you need. You don't even have to really think about it. Just choose from their 4 mattresses and then pick your bundle. Whether you just need a mattress and a frame or you want it all, I want it all.
I want it all.
And I want it.
And I want it now.
Like their cooling pillows and sheets, you can get the best bang for your buck. Right now, GhostBed is offering a flash sale, 40% off GhostBed bundles, where you get a mattress and adjustable base, or if you use that code WOLFPACK at ghostbed.com/. Nope, just kidding. It's Drinking Bros, DRINKIN, bros at ghostbed.com/Drinking Bros, or 30% off of everything if you use the code Drinking Bros at ghostbed.com/Drinking Bros. Mattresses are like $35 a month, 0% down, 0% financing, and that's if you have Last Row Lopez credit. Go check out ghostbed.com/Drinking Bros. Listen, guys, there is no better gift to give your loved one, especially if that loved one is a first responder, than a nice boxed bed like GhostBed. To see their face light up as they open the gift and they see that they have a brand new mattress, a brand new bed. It's like a whole brand new life. And then you get to relive that moment, that feeling when you see them get into bed on that cooling technology and you see their face light up. Then you get to see it again after you make coitus on that bed. And then when they wake up, you get to relive it again and see the joy. So it's just like never ending joy in a gift. Get your loved one a GhostBed, ghostbed.com/Drinking Bros. Let's go.
Is Jimmy having coitus back there on a ghost bed?
I don't know. Are we allowed to say coitus and ghost bed? Or
coitus is the greatest, I love that word, and I think it's underused, and I'm going to start referring to it all the time. I'm always going to say that. Mike said there was going to be ice cream this week. That's not true. Did I say that? You did. Yes. Why did I say there would be ice cream? I can't remember. But
when the fuck did we get ice cream?
What
Still my favorite line of any movie.
I said something about ice cream. I do not recall this.
Can I tell a quick ice cream story?
Yeah.
So I had I know we got a lot of news to dig into, folks. I'll make this really quick. When I was a rookie, even now, ice cream has always been like one of my things. I have to have it. I like ice cream. It's my comfort food, and I really like it. And every morning, the squad that I was on in training, and through the academy, I always had a tub of ice cream in the freezer. So when we had our little 10-minute breaks, I always had a tub of ice cream. The instructors absolutely hate it. They brutalized me for it. They PT'd the fuck out of me every time they saw it. I still failure to stop, can't stop, won't stop, always eating ice cream. I got to my first squad as a rookie, and they're like, "Oh, you're the ice cream dude, right?" Like, and they had a thing go on there. I was like, "Yes, sir. Yeah." Like, I just like my ice cream. It's whatever. So they would go to Chick-fil-A for breakfast every morning. I'm not so much of a breakfast guy, but I love Chick-fil-A soft serve ice cream. So I would get an ice cream cone while they got breakfast, and I would lick on an ice cream cone. And then we got a call while we were on our way to Chick-fil-A. So he's like, "Fuck it. Go to the Chick-fil-A. I'm going through the drive-thru. I'm going to get my breakfast anyway, and then we'll take this call." And I was like, "Sure." And so since I'm the driver, I get to order all the food. So I order him like a number 3, and I order myself a soft serve ice cream cone. Next thing you know, we're driving down the road in the Crown Vics. I'm licking my ice cream cone, lights and sirens, ripping down the road, licking an ice cream cone. And he's like, "Are you fucking serious right now?" And I was like, he's eating his burrito. I'm eating my ice cream cone. Anyway, there you go.
I love
people
a good
were
ice cream
like,
cone story.
It's like 7:30 in the morning. People are like, we're passing people and they're like looking over, and I just got this massive ice cream cone in my hand. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's an odd time of day to be licking your cream. If you know what I mean.
Bless. Goodness gracious.
Coitus, baby. Making your oral coitus with your twist cone, whatever it is that you got going on.
Chick-fil-A's got good ice cream. They got good everything, but they definitely have good
I had Chick-fil-A
ice cream.
for dinner last night. We went to the zoo with some of my kids and my grandkids. The fam went down there, and Toledo's like, it's about 55 minutes to get to the zoo, I think. So it's a little bit of a distance, but we went, saw the lights, and we got Chick-fil-A, but I didn't get any ice cream. I didn't get a shake or anything like that. I don't even know anything about their soft serve. I've had a milkshake from there before, but anyway, I don't know. On with the show. What do we got?
Sorry about that.
We gotta before we dive into the Waukesha, we're gonna talk about. We're gonna give the Wolfpack their due. See what they've been saying on the Apple Podcast. If you are watching this show right now on YouTube or Facebook, slap that like button, baby. Hit subscribe. We have 291 people viewing right now live. We should have 291 likes everywhere. Let's go. Subscribe. And what are people saying on Apple Podcasts? That is a huge, huge help for us for when you go, after you listen to the show, you go give a rating and review on Apple Podcasts. What are they saying, Lodge? WPAC. Fraz1112 says, WPAC. The Scott Rogers, a.k.a. Wolfpack 1 metal cover. May be the most metal thing I've ever heard. Stay soft. Stay soft.
while staying hard on a ghost bed.
Sleep soft. Thanks for the awesome. AK Blue 49 says, chill, Mike. Mike's constant and relentless badgering to leave a review finally broke me. I hope you're happy. Sorry, I have to stay on, everybody. I'm sorry. I that's my job. Ghost 416, respect for cops starts here. 5 stars. I have been on the fence with cops my whole life. Well, literally, were you running from them? You got stuck on the fence? Join the military instead, but listening to these guys will help look at a cops in a positive manner, but it's not a solution, but is a start. All right,
God, if
cool.
we're the solution.
Yeah, we are not a solution.
Please tell me you're going to put that review up from the trooper.
Oh, no, no.
Oh, damn it.
What was it?
All right. Oh, State Trooper is just really mad at me for talking shit about State Troopers 3 shows ago.
It was between the last review that I showed and the State Trooper one, and I picked the other one.
Oh man, I thought the State Trooper one was awesome, and that just solidifies my whole belief on State Troopers being more like Marines. And of course, listen, I make fun of the Marines, we make fun of the firefighters. I'm gonna make fun of the troopers too, and it's because your egos are so. State Troopers and Marines, they have the same ego complex. It's look at me, recognize me as what I am and who I am. I am a State Trooper and I am the law.
Yeah.
And the law is, and I'm the greatest. And I'm you know what? You're a quota keeper. Go write some tickets in STFU. As a joke, guys, you're still law enforcement-ish, and we still love you-ish.
Yeah.
Thanks for the review.
Says, to Tansey, not sure I appreciate your tone in the night shift Ask Former Cops Anything episode about troopers, but I do enjoy the show, other than when Tansey speaks. Thanks. Yeah. Bye, Tansey.
Bye.
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 Thank you guys that are watching
don't forget your
live
hat.
and dropping in super chats. That is it's much appreciated. All right, we have a Scott Rogers Wolfpack update. We're keeping you guys cutting edge, cutting news, breaking news from Mobile. Wolfpack.
This one's a throwback, a little bit. We missed it, and I just felt like it had to be shared here.
Okay,
it's incredible. You ready?
Yeah, we're ready.
What's up, everyone? I want to do this. I want to meet Jason David Frank.
Who's Jason David Frank?
Let's see.
I feel like is he in a towel or is those shorts? No, it's not. I think
a biological mother is okay.
Oh.
I'll redo that one. Redo that one.
She's not okay. I feel sorry for people that aren't watching
He
this.
missed it again.
I want to be
misses
rich
it again.
and famous. That one.
All right, so pause it real quick, because if you're listening to the show and you're like, what's going on? What's going on? Well, sorry, we throw these little nuggets out there for people that take the time out of their day to watch us so they can see this. But our man Scott Rogers, the head of the Wolfpack in Mobile, he is doing this little challenge thing where you say something out loud that you want to be true, like make a wish, I guess, and then you throw the pen into the cup and see if it sticks, it's going to happen, and if it doesn't, then I guess it's not. So he's making his wishes and tossing the pen in. That's pretty funny.
Yeah, so the first one he misses, he says, I want to meet Jason David Frank, and he throws the pen.
Well, he made it,
lands in the cup. He gets really excited. Jason David Frank, for those of you who don't know, you should know, and if you don't know, you should shame yourself, take yourself into a dark closet, give yourself a couple of floggings on the back. The Green Ranger in Power Rangers, the OG Green Ranger, Jason David Frank. Let's go. Come on.
Did you make quick work of Google on that one there?
No, I knew who Jason David Frank was.
You did not.
You're
you
right.
should not.
You're right, I didn't. But I was embarrassed when I saw that it was the Green Ranger. I was like, shit, how did I not know it? I mean, he kind of looks like a younger Steven Seagal. You know what I mean? Damn.
Lucas Moreland said, my first time watching live. Don't know what I expected Scott to look like, but it wasn't that.
Oh, really?
That's so funny.
That's exactly how I.
That's exactly how I
Yeah,
pictured him
yeah.
going.
If you hadn't seen him. Yeah. All right. What else? What else do we got from Scott?
What's the craziest thing your child has ever said where you were just like, whoa?
I can relate to that, but I don't have any kids, but I saw a kid like that, and I was like, oh, good. parents, you need to get a hold of your kids. Excuse me, sorry. But anyway.
Did he just fart?
Jake, this is for you.
Oh, whoa. He punched the screen. I don't understand what just happened there.
All I know is I needed that last audio. That I needed that for those like finish off the song.
So you can finish off the metal song.
Epic.
Yeah.
All right.
Nice. All right.
This next one is, in my opinion, the greatest Scott Rogers moment that we've had.
Scott Rogers is my spirit animal, says Strawberry Jam Enthusiast.
All right, here we go.
Hello, Noah. Welcome to the pack, and I'm the president of the Mobile Wolf Chapter Pack. Welcome, and if y'all have any questions, contact Fantasy Bully. Sorry, guys. I was at McDonald's having McRib. This one guy trying to take out food because they had to put it in the chicken McNuggets box, the 10-piece, and he probably got confused or something, but I showed him, and the worker said, yeah, this is it, this is theirs. So I was about to ready to call on y'all, but the workers handle it. So have a blessed one.
Wolfpack crisis averted at McDonald's.
Protect you.
Woo. Dude, okay.
He almost had to assemble the Wolfpack for his McDonald's order there, guys.
What's crazy is that I've always wondered in my brain, who eats the McRib? Like, what kind of human being eats the McRib?
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh
man.
my God. And now I see Scott is eating the McRib. I'm like, there it is. Like, that's the guy that eats the McRib. What a stereotype.
Okay, hold on a second here. Was that motherfucker driving?
I don't know. There was a cough.
Should he be? I don't know.
There was a cough in the background of the video that wasn't him. So
Hold
with somebody.
Hold the phone, guys. There's someone in the comments named Joseph Barnhill who has been telling us to get on with the show for a while, and now he says he's out. I know everyone. I'm sorry, guys. We have just screwed up our entire show because Joseph Barnhill doesn't approve of the pacing of our podcast, and so.
Just fast forward it on podcasts.
I'm just sorry. I'm sorry to everyone right now that we did not move at Joseph Barnhill's speed. And if you're still here, there you go, Joseph Barnhill. There's your update on how we're moving the show.
Mike, just to piss that guy off a little bit more, because that's what we like to do to our fans. We like to piss them off, like to really rub it in the face. Mm-hmm. Ashley from 60 Days In just sent a picture of her with the green Power Ranger. She is legit. She was on our last show a couple weeks ago, last Friday, actually.
Did she?
Week
did she
ago.
send us a
So
text?
she actually has a picture of her with the green Power Ranger, Jason, David, Frank, and damn, that's big time.
Joseph was hungry for a McRib. He had to go. He saw Scott Rogers with that McRib,
That
McRib face
Scott
and a
Rogers'
cigarette in his
lips
hand.
just looks too good.
the McRib baby batter all over his face, and he had to get out of here and go get one. It's a limited time only, man. It doesn't stay around.
And with that, now we're getting into the news.
Now, you just missed it, Joseph Barnhill. Now we're talking about Waukesha, dude, and you just missed it. All right, Waukesha. What the heck is going on with Waukesha? First of all, I'm glad that we're going to be covering this because this is such an example of why journalism is absolutely dead in this country anymore, because you can't, especially same state. We just go to Wisconsin, right? We just covered the Rittenhouse trial in detail, that whole circumstance. Juxtaposed right next to each other is Waukesha and Kenosha, and how they're being covered. It's just so blatantly obvious right in front of your face that there is a bias about even the way that they're describing what happened. If somebody like me, and I think I represent a good number of people, I don't really follow mainstream media. I look for what other people might be saying, people who were there, people who are more in the direct know of what happened. And when I go to YouTube and start searching for something like Waukesha facts, one of the first things that pops up is Forbes breaking news. It says just in, Waukesha mayor and police chief speak after SUV plows fill in the blank. You see it being called, let's see what other ones here. Waukesha Christmas parade tragedy, Christmas incident, a parade incident. SUV runs into people. SUV plows into people. It's not saying there was a targeted attack by a radical Black Lives Matter activist.
So
it's not saying what it is. Why? That's the first problem with what's going on. Notice the headlines for the Kyle Rittenhouse situation weren't AR-15 shoots 3 people. It didn't say that. It said, Kyle Rittenhouse, young white whatever, shoots and kills. They blame the person in that case. And in this case, they're blaming the SUV. They're calling it an accident.
Well, I have a theory, Mike. Being that this did happen so close to Kenosha and Wisconsin, and you see what's going on there, right? So Kyle Rittenhouse is probably going to get stupid rich from this, right? Going to be suing a lot of people.
I think he already filed a lawsuit for $200 million against CNN.
Right. And so with that, being maybe Wisconsin media or people in the media have learned their lesson. And because this guy is BLM and it happened so quickly after the Rittenhouse findings, right, of him being not guilty, then this guy runs his car through a parade, which kills 6 children and wounds 40 or 50 other folks, lots of elderly. I mean, I was reading some of the statements from the parents on this one where the guy, one of the fathers says that I was just running through mangled bodies. They were cheerleaders or not cheerleaders, but like dance parades with the pom-poms and the things. I guess maybe they're cheerleaders, but he's going through them, stepping over bodies, mangled bodies, moaning and screaming teenage girls to get to his own daughter, who was alive, but was also mangled. But he says he'll never forget the feeling he had of passing over so many wounded children to get to his own daughter. And I mean, I just think like mentally that paints such a morbid and terrible picture, of this incident, of this tragedy. But maybe the news learned their lesson. And instead of trying to crucify this guy right off the bat as a domestic terrorist and all these things, and then getting a mistrial because everybody thought he was a terrorist and they were able to blame it, maybe the media's finally learned their lesson and they're staying neutral and they're just presenting facts as they know it.
Yeah. Ashley Bruder says we're making mistakes already. Yeah. We're going to talk about the victims, Ashley. We must have some new people around here today, coming in hot in the comments watching. So, let's talk about the victims real quick. There's a lot to unwrap in this Waukesha massacre. Pull up the victims. I want to remember them. I want their names to be known. We're going to tell you who the murderer is. We're going to tell you who this domestic terrorist is, but I don't want everybody knows Rittenhouse's name, and then barely anybody could tell you who the name of the person is that did this, even though they should. Anyway, first victim is man, this sucks.
You want me to read it?
Yeah, please.
Jackson Sparks.
I can't. How old is he?
8.
8-year-old Jackson Sparks.
This is Tamara Durand.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, this is really Virginia Sorensen.
Yeah, she was elderly. There was a bunch of elderly folks because they were doing like was it a dog part of the parade or something like that?
That's Willem Hospel. This is Leanna Owen. And Jane Kalich, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, there's the six confirmed died from this attack, and dozens dozens.
I think it was
more.
like I think the exact number was like 60 injured or something like
Yeah.
that. But the girls, a little cheerleading squad that was on the other side of the elderly ones were the ones that died.
But Elijah, if you could pull up that one article, which I was actually surprised this came out of Newsweek. Yeah, there we go. Stop avoiding. The article is called "Stop Avoiding the Facts About Waukesha," and this is. I thought this was interesting. The willful avoidance of facts and deliberate obscuring of what happened in Waukesha, Wisconsin, is a low point in American journalism. And I think like it's par for the course. It's truly the author of this article says it is stunning how much reporting and liberal commentary distorted the massacre at a Christmas parade last week. Here are the facts. Okay, the alleged killer, which you have to say alleged, right? Innocent until proven guilty. Daryl Brooks Jr. And that's we'll say his name. Was there a picture that Jimmy had?
Yeah, there it is.
Daryl Brooks, quote, "I just feel like I'm being made out to be a monster, demonized and dehumanized." Well, you can't demonize a demon. I mean, it's just stating the facts. You're not being demonized. You did a demonic action. So that's on you, sir.
And I want to say too, like I picked that picture because anytime something like this happens and the media wants to play, a one side or they want to play a narrative, they always pick these super young, innocent, sweet looking pictures. And those images paint exactly who it is that drove through that crowd maliciously with blatant intent to hurt, maim, murder, kill, whatever you want to call it, out of hate and kill those and hurt people. And he is a criminal.
Yep. And you've got even after the whole country sits and sees the evidence presented in the Rittenhouse case, even after he's found not guilty, then you have the whole white supremacy thing being played out in the media afterward. Still, they doubled down on it, tripled down on it, on this, making it about race, even though in the Rittenhouse case, the offender and all the victims were all white. And the only people that lost their lives were career criminals in that case. And now we have innocent people that weren't career criminals getting mowed down on purpose in a domestic terror attack from a Black Lives Matter, a black supremacist. It's blatant. And the media is not saying that. They're not using those words. It's not splattered everywhere and not calling it what it is. So they'll distort it when it's plainly obvious. We all see the evidence. And then as soon as this happens, now the next day, all the news is talking about SUV runs into crowd. Well, who's driving it, morons? A person, a terrorist.
I mean, do you think for a moment that the media is trying to do what's right? Because we were all really upset when they called Rittenhouse a white supremacist so quickly without knowing the facts. Do you think that maybe now they're not trying to call somebody a domestic terrorist or a Black Lives Matter fanatic without having those facts yet?
If I was giving, I think you bring up a great question. I think it's a fair question to ask. Has the media learned its lesson? Are they being safer with this one because they weren't safe with Rittenhouse and that didn't get them very far?
Or the guy at the insurrection, remember with the kid with the MAGA hat that's sued NBC for tons of money? I mean, maybe.
Well, that wasn't at the insurrection. That was completely separate incident. But yeah,
I got you. But at the White House or whatever. But I mean, do you think that they're like tired of getting sued and they're just like, you know what, I'm not gonna.
No, I don't. I don't. And here's why. If I was going to look back and go, you know what, you might be right on that, I would see a lot more articles now based on the evidence that we do know about this dude. They would be the headlines and what would be getting covered about it would be accurate now, but it's still not. It's still buried. You have to go digging to actually get the information. So pull that back up, Elijah. I want to keep going through the facts of this case. This all started. Thank you to you morons that love the idea of bail reform. This happens. He had before been arrested for running over the mother of his child with a car. He openly talks about using a vehicle to kill white people and makes anti-white racist posts on social media. He got out for what was $1,000 cash bail after trying to kill someone. He literally tried to murder another human being with a vehicle, and he got out for $1,000. And so then while he's out on that bail, he kills 6 people and maims more than 60 others.
He's also a registered child sex offender as well.
Yeah, you can keep that up, Elijah, because I need to be able to read through it. The propaganda media's answer, and this is blowing my mind because this is on Newsweek, and they're not like some bastion of conservatism or anything, has been simply to avoid the facts. Much reporting has been inadequate at best and maliciously dishonest and misleading at worst. The amazing thing is that this was not the work of 1 or 2 news outlets. I mean, the Washington Post says, after SUV slammed into Wisconsin parade and killed 5, driver to be charged with homicide. A 6th victim has died after the Waukesha Christmas parade crash. That's CNN on November 23rd. The Waukesha Christmas parade crash. Why? AP says child is 6th death in Waukesha parade crash. Suspect charged. CNN, more than a dozen remain hospitalized after deadly Waukesha parade crash. They just double down, triple down, quadruple down on this nonsensical narrative that this is an accident. It's mind-blowing. But they'll jump on, the same thing happened with a young black school shooter recently. It gets washed away. And I'm not trying to further race divide. I think the media does this on purpose. They specifically run with the narrative of white supremacy, and that drives the narrative in where was the place? It was a big deal when Trump was in office, and there was this rally going on, and somebody ran over people with a car. Guys in the comments, or if you're driving in your car listening to the show right now, everybody's going to be screaming it out what it was. But there was another vehicle assault, and it was all supposed to be about white supremacy, and it was all over the news. Charlottesville, yes, thank you, Charlottesville. Go back and compare. You want to compare apples to apples? Go back and look at the headlines in the wake of Charlottesville compared to the headlines in the wake of Waukesha. They are identical cases as far as like you've got somebody that decides to use a vehicle to run people over, and the media narrative is completely different with Waukesha. Why? Because in our supposed white supremacist system, this doesn't fit. It doesn't compute. And so you can't talk about it honestly because it doesn't fit the narrative that big money is using to pay to drive the mainstream media. And if it's not going to pay you the money because it's not the right narrative, you're not going to talk about it that way. It's unbelievable. Back to the article. Let's see. On November 28th, CNN asserted that, quote unquote, a car drove through the parade as though it weren't being driven by a person. Waukesha will hold a moment of silence today, marking 1 week since a car drove through a city Christmas parade. What? The Washington Post withdrew an absurd tweet that said, here's what we know so far on the sequence of events that led to the Waukesha tragedy caused by an SUV. Literally, these are news outlets saying these things. But that's not what happened. Keep going down. This is tiny. Keep going. Well, you guys get the idea. Oh, that was it? Oh, shoot. Well, what really happened is that Mr. Brooks, the demonic attacker who used a vehicle as his weapon, we got to start blaming the people responsible, not the tool. And that's just it. You talk about gun control, et cetera, et cetera. It's a people problem. It's not a gun problem. It's not a car problem. It's a people problem. It is you want to talk about the system needing to be reformed. It's not the racism in the system that's the issue. It's the improper narrative, the lies about that are driving quote unquote bail reform that is destroying our criminal justice system, not reforming it. There's a difference between reform and destruction. The things that we're doing right now are destroying the criminal justice system, not reforming it. They're not improving it. By giving people a pass when they try to murder someone with a vehicle and let them out for $1,000, which now the DA is saying was an error from an overworked staff member. I mean, people aren't that dumb. I mean, literally, the fact that they can get away with this is driven by money. The average person, please tell me if you are listening to this and you're an average person, you're not buying into this nonsense. But it's being driven by big money at the top of mainstream media. It's nuts.
And now suddenly they're overworked.
Yeah, now they're overworked. And that's how they got that bail, because it was just an oversight. How do you have a bail oversight on someone that just tried to murder another human being? You don't. You're lying. And we all know it. We all know you're making excuses now. What are some of the things do you guys I've been talking a lot. I'm sorry. So
all good things.
If you have something to add to this, please by all means take the wheel, you know.
No, I mean I agree with you 100%.
Take the wheel.
Yeah, I mean, when you're saying all the right things, I don't really need to step in. I mean, my only hope is, you know, I think in a fantasy world, like I said, I wish that maybe the media because it's so blatant and it's so in your face that I just wish and hope that maybe they had learned their lesson and they weren't trying to jump to conclusions so fast about what this guy is or who this guy is. But obviously, that's a world of a fantasy and not true. And so we all know what's going on. And we're seeing the same thing happen in China with Peng Shui or however you say her name, with the missing tennis player. I mean, it's, it's the same thing. I mean, with the hashtag Me Too movement that was, running rampant years ago. I mean, this is like one of these cases. This is like a real Mockingbird type story.
Yeah. A real female
girl
has really gone missing.
Yeah.
At the hands of their government for criticizing. And where are all the Me Too people there for that woman?
Right. She gets completely disappeared.
Yeah.
Right now you have the women's tennis team, if you haven't been following it. They didn't show up to one of the biggest tennis events on the national stage in China, making China that brought millions and millions of dollars to China for that event. And they simply didn't show up to do that. And that's a big deal. Nobody's really talking about that. LeBron James definitely isn't talking about it. And here's an opportunity.
Well, you can't, because when all your money comes from China, you want to talk about, gosh, you're going to get me off on a tangent, but you're going to complain about global warming and all this, but then you've got freaking your revenue stream comes from the real source of these things. They're the ones using all the carbon emissions, spitting them out. They're terrible. Their human rights record is atrocious and continues to be, but we want to be best buddies with them while we blame white supremacy.
Right.
For the ills of the world. We are blaming America is evil. We are rooted in systemic racism. That's the problem. And we have to destroy the system and do it over again. This is Marxism 101, and we see it bleeding through. If we're seeing the evidence of it, the cause has been there for a long, long time. And we open our eyes and open our ears to what's going on around us with this Waukesha Massacre, this domestic terror attack caused by a black supremacist, perpetrated by a black supremacist. That's happening. And we push it to the side, and we can see the evidence of them doing that. That means the cause is more deeply rooted than we would like to admit. And tangent. Daryl Brooks, by the way, has a decades-long rap sheet. He has shared memes including posts about attacking cops, comparing cops to Ku Klux Klan members, calling cops violent street gangs, and called for violent actions toward white people. Okay, most of these posts have been scrubbed from the internet now as part of this case. Last year, he wrote on June 9th, amid the violent upheaval over George Floyd's murder, learned and taught behavior. When we start back knocking white people the F out, I don't want to hear it. The old white people too, knock them the F out, period. And he wrote that under his rap name, Math Boy Fly, along with a middle finger emoji. So,
but Math Boy Fly sounds a lot better than 4 Doors More Whores, which was Rittenhouse's screen name.
That's exactly my point. They want to dig into his social media as like you're just your white supremacy runs so deep that you just want to kill people on video games and you wanted to do it in real life. They want to dig in there, but this guy, he's shared pro-Hitler information. In 2015, he shared anti-Semitic stuff in line with the Black Hebrew Israelites. I mean, he suggested that World War III would start when people learned Hitler was right and did the world a favor by killing the Jews. Speaking of conspiracy theories, the people that think the Holocaust wasn't real, we talked about that on Tuesday night's Night Shift. I mean, this is just nuts. This is a guy who self-proclaimed himself in his music to be a terrorist and want to kill whites. I mean, it's can't be more obvious of a motive, and yet you have to dig to find this stuff. Because if you just scan the news, you're going to get a very different scenario of Waukesha. And why isn't Biden calling for the banning of assault SUVs? When a school shooting happens, like it happened here in Oxford, rest in peace to those four and maybe counting, there's still people in the hospital, victims. Terrible, terrible situation here in Metro Detroit. And it's just nuts to me, man. It's nuts to me that we're not going to get a straight answer.
But you know who is going to get a straight answer?
You're quick to blame guns, all that, but you're not now you're not going to ban cars, are you? And that's just it. We have a people problem. We don't have a gun problem. We have a people problem. And you take all the guns away. Yep, there won't be gun shootings. But what are you going to do? Take all the cars away? Bricks? Sticks? Knives? What people who are bent on hatred and terror are going to pick a tool that's available, even if it's their bare hands, you know? Anyway, all this Waukesha talk makes me tired. You know what I need?
Well, don't be tired. I mean,
I need Cardomax. What a smooth ad transition.
It was a smooth ad transition. But, before we jump into that ad, that is essentially why the Drinking Bros podcast network brought us on. I mean, that was the original meeting that we had with Drinking Bros. It was mainstream media is putting out so much fake news in regards to police that nobody is getting the actual facts or a police perspective of the facts. And so that's what Mike and I's existence came from, was to be that news outlet. And when dropping breaking news happens, that we dissect it from our perspective, and we try to do as much research as we can, and try to do it unbiasedly and try to tell the truth. So, I mean, that's essentially what we're here for.
Yeah. And if I was booking in that domestic terrorist, obviously we weren't there, so we don't know I don't know the full scope of all of the witness statements that you would take. But let's say that you're the guy that takes that dude into custody. I'm charging him with a hate crime when I book him in. When his fingerprints are getting rolled on the little system, and I'm booking him in, and I'm the officer, and I'm looking at all the options of what I can charge him with, I'm throwing the kitchen sink at him. He's getting hate crime charges. He's getting terrorism charges. I'm throwing everything at this dude.
Right, because it's more probable than not. When you look at the totality of the circumstances, when you look at like how close it was to the Rittenhouse, the verdict of the Rittenhouse, when you look at how close it is to actual Kenosha, when you kind of see the acts and how the witnesses say that he was swerving to try to hit as many people as he can. I think once you've added all those bricks in this wall of evidence, that's a pretty big wall. And it is more probable than not that it is some type of domestic terrorism. And I think you do throw the book at him and you do charge him with as many of those things, and you let the courts sort it out from there.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry. Cardomax.
Cardomax. It's that time of year when you wake up with a cough, a sore throat, or other annoying symptoms for no other reason than it's just a little bit colder outside. That's why you need Cardomax Immune Booster to keep your body at 100, baby. Cardomax Immune Booster uses all natural ingredients that increases the body's ability to adapt to stressors, increase muscle endurance, and provide other immune system benefits. Owned and operated by former Navy SEAL. And being a Navy SEAL is pretty cool, but what's even cooler than that is being a fellow drinking bro. Sean Matson, Cardomax Immune Booster comes in an easy-to-mix liquid packet and 2 great flavors, orange and watermelon. Watermelon being my personal favorite. It tastes great. The ingredients are healthy, and it's made by a veteran, and more importantly, a drinking bro. Yes, drinking bros are cooler than veterans.
The USA. USA.
We could do it now. We couldn't do it then. But the Immune Booster plus Cardomax has a new hydration line, and you can use the promo code for that as well. For a limited time, you get 30% off your next 4 orders. Cardomax is offering the Wolfpack an exclusive offer of 30% off your next 4 orders. Go to cardomax.com and use the promo code Wolfpack. That is CARDOMAX. CARDOMAX.
Wolfpack. We love getting the photos of you guys.
Wolfpack. Get 30% off your next 4 orders. That's cardomax.com, helping you achieve your max. And yes, look, we're probably at this point getting 2 to 3 a day. I don't post them all on social media, but I do post some of them as they come through. Again, don't know why you guys like to send me pictures of you guys.
People love sharing their pictures of Cardomax with us.
They do. It's a trending theme, and I am all about that.
You support our sponsors, you're supporting us because it helps keep the show alive. So
that's
thank you.
Right. Next in the news, what do we got, Mike?
Our boy Baldwin just couldn't leave well enough alone. He cannot. I think Baldwin thinks he's living a movie. So I think Baldwin is an actor in his own. Like, I don't think he understands the difference between real life and movie life. Right. I think he thinks he is the star of the universe. Yeah, I think he thinks he's the main character in the show we're all watching. Alec Baldwin thinks we all love him. Alec Baldwin thinks everybody is just on pins and needles about if he's okay. Yeah. I think he thinks we care more about him than his victim.
They say that you should never go. What's the movie where they say you should never go full retard? You should never go fully into your character. Alec Baldwin has done that. He's lost. But this is what Hollywood needs to know, right? Like, if you're a police officer and you fuck up, right? Like, let's say you lose a foot chase, or you fuck up a search warrant and the SWAT team doesn't serve the search warrant because you put the wrong address. Whatever it is, right? We all make mistakes as cops. And being a police officer in that kind of community, everybody is going to talk shit on you for that. They're going to burn you. But what do you do as the cop who fucked up? What do? You stay quiet, right? Yeah. You disappear until the next guy fucks up and becomes the running joke. You just stay quiet and you don't say anything.
Talk to your attorney. Don't talk to anybody else. But if you love the limelight, you can't. Right. Which maybe this is part of his defense. Obviously, he's going to be trying to set up his reasoning, his defense, and now this idea that you got to hear him say it himself. And this news clip is like a movie trailer. He's trying. It's so weird. It's so awkward. Play that beautiful bean footage there.
For the trigger to be pulled.
Well, the trigger wasn't pulled. I didn't pull the trigger.
So you never pulled the trigger?
No.
Go back to the beginning of this.
And you should know that you never pull the trigger anyway. You always squeeze. You always squeeze the trigger.
I worked with and admired.
He's really broken up about this.
I'm sorry.
It's okay to make fun of Kyle Rittenhouse, but not him.
I find it hard to believe that. It just doesn't seem real to me.
See, it's a movie trailer.
You haven't said much in public since that tragic accident. Why speak out now?
Pause it.
Because I can't help it.
Who says it's a tragic accident?
I need people to look at me. I need people to understand.
Who says it was an accident? He's like, you haven't spoken out much in public since this tragic accident. Who says it's an accident? Has that been established? I mean, this is a case. This is an unfolding case. Who knows? Did we prove this is an accident? He pointed a gun at somebody and shot him.
Plot thickens.
I mean, he's guilty of homicide. I mean, on its face, prima facie evidence. On its face, he's guilty of homicide. So we haven't talked about motive. Anyway, keep going. That's just a little side note. That's a legal insight.
I think the
folks.
big question, and the one you must have asked yourself 1,000 times,
No.
how could this have happened?
How could this have happened? I'll tell you how it could happen. You grabbed a gun and you pointed it and you pulled the trigger.
And the gun was in your hand.
It's a very simple explanation.
How do you come to terms with that?
You go to jail. That's how you do.
It wasn't in the script for the trigger to be pulled.
Well, the trigger wasn't pulled. I didn't pull the trigger.
So you never pulled the trigger?
No. I would never point a gun at anyone and pull a trigger at them. Never.
Except you did. I mean, everybody saw it. Everybody was
How did a
there.
real bullet get on that set?
I have no idea. Someone put a live bullet in a gun. A bullet that wasn't even supposed to be on the property.
How do you respond to actors like George Clooney who say that every time they were handed a gun, they checked it themselves? Your emotions are so clearly so right there on the surface. You felt shock. You felt anger. You felt sadness. Do you feel guilt? You said you're not a victim, but
does he feel
is this
guilt?
the worst thing that's ever happened to you?
Yes.
It happened to him. Okay, that's good enough. This guy's an asshole. I mean
it's such
it happened to
clearly an
him.
act.
Since this happened to him, what are you talking about? Why are they handling this dude with kid gloves? That's because these people are all probably like Epstein lovers. I
Now,
don't know
to
what's
be
going on.
fair, he says he didn't pull the trigger. He dropped the hammer, right? So like real Clint Eastwood style. He dropped the hammer, cut out the middleman, fucking let that bullet fly down range. So is he being truthful when he says I didn't pull the trigger? Maybe he just dropped that hammer.
Yeah, drop the hammer. Yeah,
Which, by the way, makes a gun go off.
The hammer is what hits the primer.
Those of you who don't know, the trigger is the middleman in that scenario. You pull the trigger, the hammer's up.
I didn't pull the trigger. Oh my gosh! So thanks a lot,
Squeeze the
Baldwin,
trigger.
for being a total and utter douche.
But I mean, it's all
making
about him.
Your
Like, if
actions. You killed somebody, and somehow you are trying to manipulate, and the media's helping him. The media's helping him with kid gloves to be the victim.
Well, because this is
makes
part
no
of this
sense.
this is part of the let's get rid of guns movement, right? So like everybody's jumping on that bandwagon as well. However, Baldwin, it's so clear that everything he's doing right now is to keep himself in the limelight instead of being a good human being and let this thing just ride its course and just staying quiet and being respectful and doing the right thing, right? When you're the rookie and you've written the wrong address on that search warrant and the SWAT team says, yeah, we're not going to hit that house, and everybody in the clubhouse is pissed at you because you just ruined the bust of a century because you wrote that down. Instead of just continuing to bring it up and bring it up and bring it up, you stay quiet. Somebody else fucks up. Somebody else is in the limelight. Somebody loses a foot chase, and then they all make fun of him in the locker room, and you're no longer that guy. And then you get to make fun of that guy. Instead, this is the guy, like, he needs a training officer to pull him aside and say, look, homeboy, it's okay. You fucked up, right? You did something really stupid. Just stay quiet for a little while, and then somebody else, some other actor is going to do something. They're going to die in a fiery car crash, or they're going to suicide themselves or something else, and they're going to be in the limelight, and everybody's going to forget about you. Just stay quiet and let this thing just move its course. But no, you can't.
Imagine if Baldwin gets away with this without responsibility by saying he didn't pull the trigger. Can cops get away with that when they shoot somebody? Is that the new defense? I didn't pull the trigger. Yeah. Rittenhouse didn't pull the trigger. I don't know what happened. I would never kill anybody. I would hold a gun in my hand and point it at people and not check it. And I would pull the hammer down on the round, but I would never pull the trigger.
I need to get one of these
somebody.
ghost guns that it just knows who it wants to kill. And that way I don't have to kill anybody. All I have to do is point my magic ghost gun at them, and then it'll shoot them for me.
Yeah. What's this quote? I don't know what's going on.
So this is a quote from a phone conversation. This is good old Alec Baldwin from a voicemail of him screaming at his little girl. You don't have the brains or the decency as a human being. I don't give a damn that you're 12 years old or 11 years old or that
Whatever
you're a
you are.
child or that your mother is a thoughtless pain in the ass who doesn't care about you as far as I'm concerned. So that's sweet old Alec Baldwin. That was something that came out of him a while ago that also got snubbed.
Gotta love it. Yeah. It's just you're going to start to see a theme in how the media covers these things and how real people have this perception. Again, he's guilty on its face of homicide. I mean, a human life was lost at his hands. That's an indisputable fact. Now, motive has to be established from somebody who put the round in there. Why was there a live round on this set? Why was that in that gun? Why did he have it in his hand? Why did he point it at who he pointed it at? Like, there's a lot of questions that need to be answered. But I don't know why we would make the assumption that it was just an accident. You can't making these assumptions on the front end and then running with it in the media on a case that hasn't been fully vetted yet. It's nuts. That's the theme we're seeing today. With Waukesha as the head. We got to stop calling things that are tragic just tragedies and stop removing the personal responsibility from people, unless that person happens to be the wrong kind of white guy. If it's Alec Baldwin white guy, you're okay. If you're a Kyle Rittenhouse white guy, you're not okay. Both people were white men with a gun in their hand who pulled a trigger. But they're very, very different in the eyes of the media, aren't they? So infuriating. All right. But there's another actor that's making headlines this week on trial. What do you got on Jussie Smollett?
Juicy? Old Juicy J? Juicy Smollett.
Give me the juice on Juicy.
So that case is not looking good for him. The two brothers, the Osundario brothers, I don't know how to say their name, but
two Nigerian princes,
right? Their testimonies have been pretty consistent and
very damning.
So I don't see a way that Smollett, of course, right? All we need is reasonable doubt. I don't think he's even painting a picture of reasonable doubt. One, the fact that the reason why he did it, that hasn't even been consistent with Smollett. The first reason he did it is he said that the set of the Empire was not taking him seriously when he had a real MAGA threat. Then, the other excuse was that he wasn't being paid enough. It's all over the board. Now he's saying he didn't do this at all, that he's maintaining the victim card. He's going back to that.
How could he say that he didn't do it at all? How?
Right,
he wrote a personal check.
Well, it gets even better there.
How do you hire someone to beat you up
right.
for social media clout? I mean, what is the defense? This guy is a piece of work.
Well, he is.
Are they trying to say that? So this real threat letter had come in, right? Supposedly that he sends a letter to the studio, right? Mm-hmm. That he wrote. That was supposedly like this MAGA threatening kind of letter, right? He sends that, and then the network or the production team or whoever doesn't give it a serious consideration, I guess, that the reaction he wanted, right. And so then he takes to hiring these dudes to beat him up, and specifically gives them directions. To do it in this stairwell where there's a camera and it can be seen. Don't hold back.
The biggest pending question there is that this thing happened during a polar vortex. So like one of the coldest nights in Chicago. It happened at 2:30 in the morning. For those of you who don't know, old Juicy had just gotten off of a plane, and about an hour later, he gets from the plane to his home. He stays home for about 15 minutes, and then he decides, you know what? I want a Big Mac. I mean, I wanted some Subway. I want a club sub. Maybe it was a meatball sub. I don't know. But at about 1:45-ish in the morning, he's like, you know what? I'm going to walk down and get me a sub. And then these two guys wearing MAGA hats pop out using homophobic slurs and everything else. They beat him up. They pour bleach on him, but not on his face or anything that can harm him. It was more or less down his back and on the front of his chest, but not in his face. Because if you're going to throw bleach on somebody, we always go head down on that. We'll keep it friendly. They throw like a little noose around his neck, hit him once, send him on his way. But the whole thing is the biggest part of the defense, and I love that during the testimony was like, she asked, how did you know that he was going to go to Subway at this particular time during a polar vortex? How did you know he wasn't just going to stay home? And he was like, exactly. Like, right. Like, how was I so like, you think we would just sit out there all night long, hoping this guy would leave his house to go get a Subway sandwich? Come on. So for me, it was that piece of testimony that shut this whole thing down. Now, another funny part of the trial, and I'll read it. But it says it began with the judge when he interjected the attorney, Tamara Walker. If you want to post a picture of Tamara up there, you're more than welcome to.
Elijah's getting me coffee right now.
Okay. But anyway, Tamara Walker. So she presses Ola, which is the first brother. And she was like, well, you've used homophobic words and you referred to one of your musician's friends as a fruity ass. And she's going down this whole thing about all the times that this dude may or may not have used homophobic slurs in the past. And the judge is like, they're all like objection. And the judge is like sustained. And because it doesn't really have much to do with this case. And so the defense suggested that during the trial, that homophobia may have been a motive. She says that she thinks this whole thing was due to homophobia. That's where Tamara is trying to draw this case in. A little heated exchange happens. She wants a sidebar conversation away from the jury with the judge, Judge Lynn, and he denies her that. He denies it to her, and she says she wants a mistrial. He denies that. They keep going. Gets even hotter. She demands that she gets a sidebar conversation. Now this is where it gets kind of funny. So they get this sidebar, and that basically means that they're having a conversation away from the jury. So they get away from the jury, and she's begging for a mistrial and saying that the judge keeps sustaining these objections and she's not getting able to present the evidence that she wants. And he's like, well, like this whole homophobic thing that you're going down has nothing to do with the facts of this case. And you're basically just trying to retard the jury. And so she starts to cry. She breaks down. She starts to march around the courtroom with all these theatrics.
Jussie's theatrics got him into this situation, and she thinks her theatrics are going to get him out.
Right. Begging and crying for a sobbing is the word that they use. Sobbing around the table, trying to get a mistrial. Then she says that the judge lunged at her during this sidebar thing. Whoa. And Lynn is obviously vehemently trying to deny this. He's like, no, I did not lunge at her. And he says, when you said the word mistrial, and I know you have some pressures here, I'm stunned that you would consider a mistrial, Lynn said. Ms. Walker, there were objections that had to be sustained, and I was trying to get us back on point. Just because you think you were allowed to go one way, we're all just doing our jobs here. That's what he's telling her. It's like, hey, listen, I'm sustaining these because this is what the law says I have to do. And he says there will be no mistrial. And defense attorney Heather Woodell, this is the defense, she addressed the judge stating, I would also like to go on the record that there are facial objections coming from the bench when there are objections. So every time that she makes an objection, the judge or somebody else is making like snide remarks. And he just says, you're great at facial expressions, by the way. Like, that's what he says. It's like, by the way, you're really great at facial expressions.
Someone
so that's what
said that Tamara Walker, it's Medea, is his defense attorney. I was like, yeah, that makes sense. What's this headline out of the UK? Smollett's defense, pop that over there. Smollett's defense has argued at trial that the man the actor says attacked him was a former lover who masturbated with him in a gay bathhouse. What?
Dang.
He's on trial for staging a hoax hate crime, 6 felony disorderly conduct charges. His defense questioned the prosecution's star witness, Abimbola and Olabinjo, the brothers who had worked on Empire as extras. I don't know where this gets into bathhouse masturbation, but either way, that's a weird defense.
I don't like, that's a weird kink. Like, let's go to a gay bathhouse and mutually masturbate. What's a gay bathhouse? That's new to me too.
It's a bathhouse, like saunas,
like a hot
sweat
tub,
house,
okay.
saunas and
right.
steam rooms.
Okay.
Just only with people who identify as
so like,
gay.
let's take a steam bath together and.
It's the men's bathroom at Planet Fitness.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, yeah, that's where I want to masturbate.
You don't?
This says
I just thought that was normal.
It says
every time I go to the no lunk zone, you got to rub one out. I thought that was that's not part of the membership. I thought those guys lied to me.
In Wikipedia, it says in gay slang, a bathhouse may be called just the baths, the sauna, or the tubs.
The tubs. You want to go to the tubs?
Dang, I don't even know where do you? I don't even know if there's a tubs around here. Kind of curious. If I Google that, don't judge me. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I'm not going to a gay bathhouse.
Did we just discover our next shirt?
You know, we've had Officer Daniels on the show before. He was always popular for not popular for it, but one of the funny things that he's done on social media is a story where he's like, I just found out today that cockfighting is with chickens. All those years of practice for nothing. I don't know why I made that. It reminded me of my shirt I had. Anyway.
I like your shirt, by the way. It's a big cock.
Sorry. I'm covering up my non-failure to stop shirt right
now. Yeah, but this whole old Jussie thing, like, and I saw somebody else mention that Ross Patterson Revolution podcast on here.
Who did you pull that up, Elijah?
No,
I know where you guys are going after the show.
There's a gay bath.
There's something on Yelp, best gay bathhouse in Raleigh. I know you know where this is at.
I don't. What's it called?
No, you've been there. I know you've been there.
I wish I
told
had.
me about it. Liar.
I told you about it. But this is another thing, like, yes, and they did mention this on Ross Patterson Revolution for any of those who follow RPR. It's another Drinking Bros podcast, one of my favorites. But yes, I mean, this is another type scenario where all Jussie has to do is stay quiet.
Flex. The Russian day spa, legends.
Plead guilty, let this thing go over, take your sentence, move on with life. Instead, we're just going to keep it in the media. We're going to keep this thing going. We're going to keep the lie alive. I mean, I would claim like some kind of insanity or go that route. But people, I guess, just aren't as smart as I am. So,
hey, if you want to see some interesting business names, Google gay sauna, or no, on Yelp. Look up gay sauna on Yelp. Capitol Boulevard News Adult Superstore, Frisky Business Boutique.
Yeah, but I don't think that's a gay sauna. Like, that's just a bookstore. I've been there. Capitol Boulevard. Well,
that is a reputable bookstore establishment.
Like, they have like little jerk booths. And they have like glory holes in there too.
Why is that guy
and nice
working on a furnace?
Place.
What's he doing?
Much more gay oriented, I think.
Pun intended. Gay oriented. There's a lot going on there. All right, let's get back on track. Jussie Smollett, he's a loser.
Yeah, he's a loser. Fuck him.
He's going to be found guilty.
And that trial is almost going as bad as Ghislaine's trial. We'll get into that. But first, Raycon. By now, you've probably seen about 1,000 gift guides for the holiday season. Gifts for moms, gifts for guys, gifts for your neighbor's cousin's dog. You could study all those gift guides and shops at 10 different places all night long, or you could just start shopping at Raycon and get a gift that every single human being will use. I was at the skate park yesterday with my children. I was watching this dude try to do some skating stuff. He had little earbuds in. They were the Apple brands. They were falling out every other fucking trick. He's picking them up off the ground, putting them back in his ears. And I was just like, yo, homie, get some Raycons. I skate with Raycons all the time. They never fall out of my ears. They're great. Mike, I know that you like them. I think the bass and Raycon earbuds are fantastic. They give you amazing audio quality wherever you go, whether you use them to get yourself pumped up, or whether you're winding down, you're getting ready for work, getting ready for a workout. Useful for anybody on your gift list. So everybody likes to listen to music, and everybody can always use a nice new pair of headphones. And these are earbuds that are better than leading brands, like the big name brands, and they come at like half of the cost. So you have a couple of different bass modes. You got the pure mode for podcast listening, which makes Mike and I sound even better than we already do. They have the balance mode, which is for listening to heavy metal and rock. So if you're listening to Scott on some heavy metal rock that Jimmy produced, you want to put it on balance mode, or you got bass mode for all the hip hop and all the good tunes there. Raycons are available in 5 stylish colors, so you can pick the perfect one for everyone on your playlist. Free shipping and returns. Gifting is easier than ever. The holidays are coming up faster than you think. Now is the time to knock out that gift list and avoid the last-minute shipping scramble, especially because right now, our listeners will get 15% off site-wide with the code HOLIDAY at buyraycon.com/wolfpack. So if you go to buyraycon.com/wolfpack and use the promo code HOLIDAY, you're going to get 15% off site-wide. Go to buyraycon.com/wolfpack. Use that code HOLIDAY today. Get 15% off your entire Raycon order. That's buyraycon.com/wolfpack.
The comments are fire today, guys. Keep them coming about the gay bathhouse in Raleigh. Drinking Bros podcast suggests we do a live show from one down there. We can make that happen, I'm sure. That'd be interesting, to say the least, I'm sure. But anyway, thank you guys so much for we honestly, you guys are the best. The Wolfpack is the best. Our ad reads, hey, listen, we have to, if we're going to do this show, we got to be able to survive. And so We're doing it because thank you to our sponsors like Raycon, and you guys hang in there through the ad reads, and we try not to make them just like straight boring. And somebody was like, it's so hard for me to not interrupt during the ad reads. It is. It's hard because I don't want to make our sponsors mad by totally derailing the ad reads all the time. But anyway, here we are. Speaking of gay bathhouses and sexual activity, Ghislaine Maxwell, her trial's going on. We don't have the advantage of television to watch the trial because federal cases are not televised like that. So we only have the limited media that's allowed in the courtroom to come out and say key moments of the trial. What are some things that have been standing out to you? Speaking
really,
of
essentially all that you need to
elites
know
in media
right now is that they are really trying to paint the picture that Ghislaine was a mama-san, that she was like head bitch, like the main geisha.
Yeah.
She was I don't know, what are the other words for fucking lead whores at a whorehouse? But that's what they're trying to do. They've got this, they got a couple of different witnesses out there. They all go by Janes and John Does and all those things because I don't want to drop names. But essentially, they talk about her essentially.
Hold on.
What?
I can't.
Jesus.
His comments got me, dude.
I know the comments
Baby's
between
nuts,
everything going on
Baldwin's
today.
bathhouse where he'll pull your trigger.
Baldwin's bathhouse.
Oh my gosh, that needs to be a shirt. We need some Baldwin shirts, okay? Baldwin's guns. Guns so good they shoot themselves.
Squeeze the trigger, never pull.
Baldwin's bathhouse. Get your trigger pulled.
Listen, I wish Alec Baldwin would drop the hammer on the like button. We got 440
Drop the
watching.
hammer on the like button on this stream like Baldwin dropped the hammer on a revolver.
Yeah, baby.
Okay.
But
Back
anyway,
to
yeah,
Ghislaine
so-
Maxwell, a totally trash human being
Yeah,
who
she's
helped
filthy
traffic
as fuck.
children, who has come out initially and said they're basically, her defense team is saying you're coming after her because you can't go after Epstein. So it's not really her fault. You're just it's prosecution of Epstein by proxy.
Right. And it's not happening. I mean, the evidence, like the people that they're bringing to the forefront, and also what they're doing is like really trying to bash the character of these abused women. And I kind of like the theme here is that like you've got they really found girls from really bad homes and really bad upbringings, and then kind of manipulate them into this like, you know, massaging rooms and ways for them to make money. And some of these parents, you know, like one of the testimonies, what the parents dropped them off several times. This was from the like kind of like the house manager, the guy that took care of the grounds of the house. He testifies that some of these women's mothers would drop them off daily or many times. They would drop them off. There were times that he would walk in and there would be young girls with Ghislaine and fucking Epstein, and that it appeared that, you know, Ghislaine was also trying to rub and caress them sensually. So, you know, there's no doubt in my mind that she had her hands in all of this just as much. It was just as much fun for her as it was for Epstein. Unfortunately, there's not really that much we can pull out of this case right now because they're just not really. I mean, really what they do is they get a witness up on the stand and then they try to defute the character of that witness. And a lot of these witnesses, they, you know, some of them are actresses now, and they've really profited from the money that they were given on the island and that they were paid for and compensated. So the guy was kind of really brilliant in the way he covered his tracks on this.
Yeah, this Alessi said that there was a checklist. The checklist, which I'm not super familiar with.
Well, the checklist was more for like she would put out that that like this is the way, if you're going to be in the house, this is how things are going to go, and you're going to have this type of notebook on this desk. You're going to put $100. You're going to put $100 bills. And the checklist was for the people who worked on the fairgrounds, and that she was the one that was in charge of this checks and balances book. Is essentially, she was kind of like a slave driver of the island, and she wanted everything to be. They wanted it to be ran like a 5-star hotel all the time, and that was her job, was to make sure that he always had a young girl next to him, that his car was always washed, that he had $100 bills in his car at all times, so he never had to go to an ATM, or he never had to worry about how he was going to pay for something. it went as far as checklist went as far as how the notebooks on his desk were to be arranged and organized, and you had to follow this checklist.
Yeah. Well, this guy Alessi or woman Alessi was supposed to be blind and deaf, to say nothing. That's what their understanding was. And then
right, and she got that from because on on that checklist it says, like, one of the instructions was employees are tried to anticipate Epstein and Maxwell's needs and to see nothing, hear nothing, and say nothing except when spoken to. And that's a quote from this 58-page book on how you're supposed to act as an employee. So
yeah,
Alessi says, like, basically they were saying I was supposed to be blind, deaf, and dumb and say nothing. And Alessi is the one that would actually bring these young girls in, I guess. Right? Is that right? Alessi, and then she would pass them off to Ghislaine, and then she would never see them again, or she would see them again, but like she doesn't know what happened to them once they went through.
Yeah, a chain of trying to have plausible deniability so that the chain can't be strung together in the future, like now during a trial. Right. Another unidentified accuser, known as Jane to us, testified she was introduced to former President Donald Trump and Prince Andrew while being trafficked by Maxwell and Epstein, which she said started when she was 14. She did not accuse Trump or Prince Andrew of any criminality. So she says that she met both of them at the age of 14 when she was being trafficked. She came across both of those individuals, but did not accuse them of any criminality themselves. Interesting, though, our Lord and Savior Donald Trump is now getting put into the mix with some of these other elites, and I think he's denied ever. Did he deny going to the island ever, or he just said he never got on any of his planes? He never had anything to do with them, even though, I mean, he's pictured with them. Seeing famous people with Epstein doesn't surprise me. Like being in and around crowds of people at events, and everybody's like getting selfies with each other. Oh, hey, let's get a picture. Oh, sure. Like that doesn't mean that you support everything that person has ever done.
Yeah, I mean,
pictures alone don't freak me out, but what is Trump's position been on whether or not he's ever been to Epstein's island? I don't know.
I got to, when I was doing my sommelier days, and I was being hired as a sommelier to be a wine buyer to kind of help people in their wine cellars during these big parties. I was getting invited to some really, really big parties. And one of the things that was going on at a lot of these parties was heavy cocaine use, powder cocaine. Even now that I'm getting to travel around and go to a lot of events and getting to hang out with a lot of celebrities, I see more and more drugs every time I go.
Cocaine's everywhere, man.
I don't do drugs. I've never done drugs. I don't even smoke weed. So I don't engage in all these things. But have I been to these places where these things are happening? Sure. I have not seen any crazy sex stuff with underage kids or anything like more morally wrong where they're bringing in trafficking human beings or something like that, because I would definitely speak up or say something. But just because I've been in a room with people doing cocaine or I've delivered wine to people who are having these these big parties that who knows what they're doing behind closed doors, whether they're having orgies or whatever, I don't know. But just simply being there doesn't make me guilty of that. And so I think you do have to be careful when you're going through a list of who was on whose plane or who did what, because it doesn't necessarily mean that you knew that there was anything more nefarious going on than maybe what meets the eye.
Yeah, so I am reading now in this article that Bill Clinton and Donald Trump, like the former pilot for Epstein, claims that they were both on his plane. So
yeah,
that's all I see. I haven't seen anything about. All I find about Donald Trump talking about Epstein is that he banned him from his Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah, supposedly he hit on a teenage girl.
Yeah.
And so he was then banned from Mar-a-Lago.
Right.
I guess.
Right. I mean,
it's interesting to see what names can. I
wouldn't be surprised, though. I wouldn't be surprised if Trump was on that list and Trump did things. I wouldn't.
No, yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised if anything, because I think these guys are all pieces of shit.
Anybody that gets to that level in politics, man. Like I just posted the other day, I trust exactly zero politicians.
No, and
zero. And you see, like I think that there are people that are honest in their intentions when they start in politics, but I think the ones that keep their honesty are probably out of it by now. I don't know how else to explain it. Right. Especially after we see like our episode with Dan Holloway on government-sponsored sex trafficking, speaking of this trial with Ghislaine Maxwell, like there are people who could be doing things about these issues and they don't. And they're on the quote-unquote conservative side. We see time and time again politicians uniting to protect politicians. We see the elite, the dollars behind mainstream media uniting together. Is it an organized satanic cult, the cabal running the world? No, I think that's too good to be true. I think that's too simple of an explanation, actually. It's just humans being humans and looking out for people like themselves. So the elite and the powerful positions that exist in Hollywood and the media, the ones that exist in politics, there's overlapping lines that cross, I'm sure, but they're just looking out for themselves. And I think that's what's happening with Maxwell and anybody that why we're not getting more name drops already. Well, hopefully we see some of that come out of the trial and information that can stick and prosecutions that can happen. But I think, like you already mentioned, how we see these testimonies, the checklist, and how you kind of keep distance. I mean, that's how the mob's done it for years and years and decades and centuries, is you have to keep some type of disassociation with the people in the chain. You have to maneuver it in a way that makes it very, very difficult to prosecute.
I love God, Bible, Trump in the chats. Talks about us with Trump. It says that you're reaching. Look, I'm not saying that Trump diddled kids. I'm not saying that anybody that went on this plane necessarily diddled children. What I'm saying is do I think that Trump ever partied with Epstein? Do I think he ever got on there? And listen, do I think that Trump probably paid hookers or paid for sex or had somebody pay for sex on his behalf? Absolutely, I do. Do I think he diddled children?
I would.
Not necessarily. I'm not saying that he did or he didn't. It wouldn't surprise me if it came out that he had sex with some underage female. I think all these guys are participating. I don't care if you love God and your Bible and you love Trump. Trump was, I voted for him. I'll say it right now. I voted for Trump. Do I think he's a good human being? Absolutely not. Do I think he's probably forced girls to have abortions? I think he probably has. It wouldn't surprise me if he has. I don't think he is a good human being, but was he a good president? I think so. But do not put this guy on a pedestal of God or the Bible or Trump, because I think you're going to be greatly disappointed when
Beside
you find out
the fact that what we're talking about is we're not reaching. We're just stating the facts. Trump's name came up from the pilot that said he was on the plane, and he came up from well, she's not 14 anymore, but saying I met him when I was 14 and I was being trafficked by Maxwell and Epstein, and I met Prince Andrew and I met Trump in that process. That's just what somebody's saying. We're not reaching on that.
And whoever said that are basically putting a human being, a man who is completely capable of wrong, on some pedestal as if he's godlike, or he's not.
Yeah, no one's above criticism.
No,
for sure.
No,
Us included. Like that's just the.
I also think that Biden is just as sleazy, if not more sleazy, than Trump in different ways. I think Trump was the evil that you knew, and Biden is kind of one of these evils that you don't really know. And I think Hillary Clinton is a murderous bitch as well. I think they're all terrible human beings, but I think Trump's plan for the country was a lot better than all of theirs. But no, in no way would I ever put his name on my car or put his name on a flag and fly it overhead as him being some kind of my savior or my hero. And I wouldn't want my children to grow up to be like that guy either.
Yeah. You got to separate the idea of policies and when you're faced with who are you going to try to put into an office, you have to hope that the policies that for their reasons may be more nefarious or selfish to keep themselves in power, but still have a greater benefit to us. It's all a weird game, and that just because someone holds to a policy or lobbies for a policy or a law in their political position doesn't make them, because the policy lines up with a policy you like, doesn't make them a morally good person. It doesn't mean that they can't be ethically bankrupt and still vote for a certain policy that you like. Tansey is criticized all the time about being a bad tipper at the gay bathhouse.
That's true. I am I'm a receiver.
The truth
not
will come out.
not a giver. If I'm going to the gay bathhouse, I'm getting
Along with
jerked
some other
off.
things.
I'm not jerking anybody else off. I'm getting jerked off and I'm not tipping. So
Another sexual crime trial that's happening is Josh Duggar. I don't really keep up with the Duggars. I think they are cultish. And listen, I'm a believer in the Trinitarian God, the Christian God. I follow Jesus as a self-proclaimed terrible sinner. I follow Jesus. I think the teachings of Jesus are true and right. And I say this as a Christian. In other words, the Duggars are freaking psychotic. I think that they are part of a larger group of people that are cultish in their views and behaviors, and it's scary. And Josh Duggar got away with molesting a relative when he was a kid, and then that has escalated now to child pornography, which is there's a special place, I think. Speaking of Christians, Jesus said, if you bring harm to a little child, it's better that a stone were hung around your neck and you were cast into the water than what's coming for you. So I just trust Jesus' words on this, and I could kill Josh Duggar with no guilt.
jeez.
I could Dexter him. Maybe I'm a sociopath.
Josh,
I could Dexter him. I could put him in his little Duggar house, a little Duggar outhouse. Put the tarp up or the plastic up and just do a Dexter. I would put pictures on the wall of his victims and the people that he supported trafficking children who have been abused in the porn system as children, and plunge the knife right in, chop them up, no problem.
There we go.
Ends the podcast.
Sorry to be a downer. But that's how I feel about child predators.
I like it.
Tansey just doesn't know what he's just staring like I don't know what to do with this.
Have you heard his fantasy for trying to fuck with his family?
No, I mean, look, I was literally just trying to get to the news on the Jussie Smollett trial. So,
what'd you find?
I mean,
now that I've given you my hot take.
I think one of the cooler points of the case is that obviously he pleaded not guilty, but he's accused of possessing the sickest images of child pornography that are the worst of the worst, according to authorities. And I'm telling you, like, as a cop, I've seen some really fucked up child pornography cases, or just rape cases in general. And so for these authorities to say that the pornography that he was found with is the worst of the worst says a lot. Because that makes me curious, like, what's the worst of the worst? Because I mean, I've seen some really fucked up shit, especially being in the military and all the guys sharing porn, obviously not illegal like child pornography, but there's some sick fucking shit out there in regular porn world. So the fact that these authorities are saying it's the worst of the worst makes me think, like, holy shit, what kind of satanic shit was on this dude's computer?
Yeah, man, I don't know. He's
the fact that he's only like up against 20 years in prison, like, that doesn't seem like enough.
No, it doesn't seem
20
like
years
enough.
in prison does not seem like that's enough time for these kind of accusations.
Somebody in prison's gonna kill him.
The defilement and abuse of children sexually, like, that's mind blowing.
Yeah, it's 19 kids and counting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, man. So I guess Jill
either.
and Jediah are set to testify this week. I don't know if they already have or they have not yet. I haven't really been following it close enough, but I know that we're going to do a pretty good case breakdown on this, because it seems like Ashley from 60 seconds in, or 60 minutes
60
in.
seconds in. Come on,
that's the name of my porno.
That's I was going to say, that's the name of your gay bathhouse, tryst.
Yeah, it's done in 60 seconds instead of gone in 60 seconds. I'm done in 60 seconds. And I don't tip.
It's a bathhouse drive-through.
Yeah.
Bathhouse drive-by. Look at the blood.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. We got anything for night shift? for Tuesday night shift?
Are you all right, man? Did I throw you off? Are you scared of me now that I did my Dexter thing with you? That I told you what I would do?
No, I'm not scared.
You freaked out?
No.
Maybe we'll get more listeners that way.
I enjoyed it.
Man, I'm excited. What else? Oh, no, before we can't wrap up the show yet. We have to talk about this Tucson incident.
Oh, yeah. I knew there was one more.
I told people So gosh, there was so much in the news this week where, law enforcement was related. We tried to cover a lot. Obviously, if you're just tuning in and you're like, well, what did you guys talk about? We talked about the Waukesha Massacre. We talked about Baldwin, Jussie Smollett, Ghislaine Maxwell, Josh Duggar, all these cases that are prominent real quick, the Ahmad Arbory trial wrapped up. They were found guilty. Going on the record, I agree with the decision. I think we might have talked about that on Night Shift this last week. We agree with it. I do anyway. I think that was the right decision. And I think the reason it wasn't plastered all over the news, it didn't get the coverage that Rittenhouse did, was because on the heels of the Rittenhouse verdict, they said it was a travesty of justice, that it shows that the system is biased toward white males. But then the next week, white males are found guilty of killing someone unjustly. And it was kind of quiet. They didn't blast that all over the place as the system working. Because again, it doesn't fit the narrative. The theme of today's show is that there's a narrative, and if it doesn't play to what the big narrative is that they want you to think along, then they don't talk about it as much, or they shift it. But anyway, let's take a look at this Tucson shooting. A lot of people have asked me to cover this, so let's cover it. An officer shot a man in a wheelchair. And so let's take a look at it. If you don't want to see somebody getting shot, don't watch. This is graphic YouTube. So here it is. This is body cam footage and CCTV footage from the store. Officer gets out. You can hear it. I'll try to describe it to you.
Not going to the store, sir.
Can you pause real quick? So what I'm trying to describe for the listeners what people who are watching the show see. There's an officer responding. There's already an officer on scene who has his firearm out, and he is giving verbal commands to what appears to be an elderly dude in a wheelchair. It's a mechanical wheelchair, though. It's not like just the wheels manual. Like, he's not wheeling himself. It's motorized. So he's in a cart that can move at whatever the motorized speeds are, that kind of a thing. And the officer arriving is the body cam we're looking at.
Right. The officer, what you don't see in this video is that the officer's been chasing this dude around the parking lot for a hot minute, long enough to call for backup and backup to arrive. But I mean, he's been going all over this parking lot, cool, calm, collect, trying to reason with the guy, trying to get the guy to stop. So it's not like he wasn't trying to do anything but chase the guy. Like, he was literally like trying to talk him, like, hey, stop, let's chat, blah, blah, blah. So,
and then he hears from the other officer that he has a knife. You'll hear the officer tell him, hey, he's got a knife in his hand.
He's got a large knife. It's like just a large knife, not just like a pocket knife.
Go ahead.
Oh, it just ended.
What ended?
It just stopped playing.
Oh,
That was like the mainstream media version where it's just a guy in a wheelchair getting shot 3 times in the back.
Wow. Our system broke.
It literally won't play it.
Can we
Conspiracy
reload it maybe?
theories.
Because I wanna see this through to the end
Here,
if we can.
I don't know.
We're having technical difficulties here.
That's weird.
But
I'll reload it.
We'll reload the file, folks, because that's we're committed. We're committed to this.
Yeah, won't let me play it.
All right. Well, we're committed, but our system
Just
is not.
to kind of explain it to you, it's a motorized wheelchair, like Mike said. The guy's driving into the Walmart.
We're back.
Oh, we're back. Play that beautiful bean footage.
One for good measure at the end.
Yeah, right? Like, I don't understand what that last one was for.
Is that you want to keep playing it?
Go back to when he pulls up, he tells them he's got a knife. I just want people to hear it. He's got the knife in his other hand.
The other guy seems to chuckle like, like we got a guy with a fucking wheelchair and a knife in his hand.
So we're not going to replay the shots again. So, but go back to the other angle where he's entering the store. It's like CCTV footage inside. There it is. So here's an employee standing there, and he's scooting himself up, and then
the employee doesn't seem to do anything until the shots go off. Like here, when he starts getting shot right there. See, look at, and then she starts moving.
Boom. Yeah. Well, I'd move too.
Yeah.
Shots are getting.
But why don't you just stand
blasted?
there?
So, all right, guys. I don't know in the comments. What is your take on this? From what we see as an officer with your experience, you see this, and again, we only see the ending. We don't see the whole process where he's going around a lot trying to reason with this guy. He's trying to prevent him from going inside, where he could stab people. So that's what the officers clearly.
This is like one of those
damned
if you do, damned if you don't type situations. I actually knew a cop that I worked with was chasing a guy who was involved in a shooting, and the guy was trying to escape on a bicycle, and he threw his baton into the spokes like a TV show, and it seized up the bike, and the dude face planted into the ground, and he took paper for that. Because that wasn't how he's trained to use his baton. So he got in trouble for doing what I think is the absolute right thing to do. In this scenario, as it's playing out, I think the officer, as he's walking around the parking lot, doesn't have in his brain at all that he's about to shoot this guy. It's not until he gets into the Walmart, like he's going back into the Walmart, holding the knife out, and he's got a woman in front of him. I don't know that that's the right choice to shoot him. Again, but what else do you do? Because in as a training point, this is where training. We don't know how long this guy's been a cop. We don't know what scenarios he's had to face in the past. But you are trained, and correct me if I'm wrong. I think most departments go through this type of training with tasers. Is you turn your back, you turn around and face away from somebody, and then they say, "Okay, turn around," and then they turn around and they're holding a cell phone, and then you begin to give commands for them to put the cell phone down and get on the ground, and you don't do anything with your hands. Then you turn around and they say, okay, turn around, and they're holding a knife, and you pull out a gun, and then they drop the knife, and you holster your gun, and you pull out your taser, and then they go to reach for the gun, or they go to reach for the knife, and you holster your taser, and you pull your gun back out. So we're going through this deadly force versus non-deadly force, but the knife is always deadly force. You don't know if that guy is the knife throwing champion of Tallahassee, Florida. You don't know what kind of background this guy has with a knife. So in training, in theory, if there is a knife, that is deadly force, and that is what you're trained to do.
You're trained to deal with knife as deadly force, so you respond in kind, right? Now, my take on
the cop was fired, by the way.
And obviously it doesn't look good, and the perception is terrible. But again, perception
use
is
of force
not
rarely
reality.
looks great.
Right.
So we're trying to kind of come at this from let's think about this from a cop perspective. You're trained, right, that if someone produces a knife, this is deadly force. And then it's like, well, he's in a wheelchair. Well, I mean, people in wheelchairs can commit crimes too. They can have guns. Like, I've searched people in wheelchairs that had knives or other weapons, on their bag or
I've gone to stop a guy in a
under their
wheelchair.
legs.
I've gone to stop a guy for dealing drugs out of a wheelchair that got up out of the wheelchair and took off running.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
now. Yeah, James says maybe it was Baldwin's gun. Maybe it was. He didn't pull the trigger. Maybe that'll be the officer's defense.
And
now,
that's another thing too.
I think. Go ahead.
To make this look better. So if you've decided in your brain that you're going to use deadly force, typically I have no problem with the amount of bullets that you put into somebody, because
the rounds are irrelevant. People get hung up on that. Like
they are.
When it comes to use of force and guns shooting out live rounds at people, forget the number. It's completely irrelevant. Completely, because the goal isn't a certain number of shots. The end game of use of force is to stop a threat. So the number of shots is honestly irrelevant.
It's irrelevant. And when you choose to use deadly force, but it's like one of those things, it's like critical thinking, right? So I would tell my rookies, is like, just because you can do something doesn't mean you necessarily should. I don't know what movement, and I'd have to watch the tape again. I'd have to see what movement led him to go ahead and start ripping rounds off. I mean, was the guy assertively moving forward to get up out of this wheelchair. And he was like, nope, game over. Because I think in your brain, it's like, I know that in a lot of the use of force scenarios that I've been in, I've had my gun on folks, as I say, like, okay, this is where I'm going to draw the line. It's once that hand moves there, I'm going to go ahead and squeeze the trigger on this. Or once this guy makes this move, I'm going to hit him with my baton. Or once this guy, but I like usually have set something in my brain. It's like, this is my point of no return.
Yeah.
And I would assume that this guy might have done the same thing where he said like, look, once this bitch crosses that line with that fucking cake knife,
yeah,
I'm
Steve
putting him out.
Salino says pretty sure the threat was stopped before that last round, though. I mean, we even noticed the final last round, right, where we're like, oh, one for good measure, like the end. But we're not there, and we're not seeing
and the brain works very funny.
What to us will be imperceptible movements.
Yeah.
Time will have distorted and slowed down in a use of force like that. They're seeing and perceiving things that you and I will not pick up on or understand from the vantage that we have right now. We just won't.
That's exactly a good point. I mean, and I've used this argument before in these types of cases. It's like in a football game when you're locked in on that quarterback and you're looking where you're going to hit him, and you know you've got to hit him below the nipples because you don't want a head-to-head shot. And so you're watching that torso and you're watching what's going on there. So maybe you don't see that ball get released and you make that late hit and everybody's booing you. It's not necessarily that linebacker or whoever's making that tackle said, I'm going to fucking smoke this dude even after he throws the ball. A lot of times, like once you've committed to an action, your brain can't tell the body to stop in time. And that might have been one of these things where he popped off. Could also be that when you're in a high stress level situation like that, bang, 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 and then he closed his other hand. It's called a sympathetic reflex. You squeeze off another round because the body kind of is acting in unison.
When he went to maybe get on the mic, he's
squeeze the mic.
He was going to
trigger.
He's thinking about that. There's a lot of factors in this that physiologically happen. There's certain things that you can't control anymore. Once you go down a certain path, there's a certain sequence of events that happens physiologically, neurologically, that happen in those moments of stress. So the number of shots in that late shot, that doesn't freak me out about this. From a cop perspective, as I watch this video, I start thinking about what are my options. Now, I don't know. I'll say this. My assessment of this from a cop is to make a couple of assumptions. Okay. And I'm going to be very, very clear that these are assumptions. These are not facts. These are my assumptions from my experience being read into the limited information that I have looking at this video. One is that this cop probably got tunnel visioned in this situation where he had made a decision, like Tansey, you were talking about, like you kind of know what's the point of no return? Where am I doing? If he had been chasing him around this parking lot, he may have basically got so focused on, okay, this guy, what is the situation that I'm facing? I've got a guy with a knife. I can't let him get inside or near other people. If he goes to go inside or if he goes toward anybody else, that's the moment. That's when I have to act on this. And he was just focused on all that, and he got tunnel visioned, and it didn't matter what was happening there anymore. He had broken the threshold of what he had decided in his head was where he needed to use lethal force against this person with a knife. Now, that being said, I'm also wondering, well, why can't you get creative? You got to stop yourself from getting in that tunnel vision. Why not? I mean, it's outside by the garden center. Is there a stick? Is there something I can pick up? Could I yell to the staff inside? Shut the doors, get everyone inside, and lock the doors. No one in or out. I would be yelling out. This is, again, I have the benefit of hindsight. I have the benefit of thinking through this right now,
and
without the situation.
We have training. We have training from a different era as well, and I harp on this a lot. Once you have taken away a certain type of training in an academy environment where you are forced to critically think, where you are told that you did something wrong and you have to retest. The fact that we are so red taped in the academy lifestyle where it's like, okay, you're going to be tested, and if you just check the blocks, you pass, versus saying like, hey, let's rerun that scenario. And we're going to do it a little different because we want you to critically think your way through this rather than, yes, we know that you can take your baton out and whoop this guy's ass because that's what the book says to do. But let's go ahead and redo that scenario where maybe you think of a different way to do that. No, a lot of these community college-based academies, what they do is like, okay, he checked the block. He did exactly what the training standard says to do. Let's move on with absolutely no critical thinking. There was no wolf pack, as I like to call it, where the instructors are trying to stress you out and weed out the weaker minded folks. Instead, it's like, let's try to make everybody pass and do these things without critical thought. What I see here is a guy that literally did exactly what the book told him to do. And I also see a police department that's very quick to throw him under the bus and cover their own ass. I agree with you 100%. Take a baton and hit him in the back of the head with it.
Yeah, is there something that you can
tip
grab
over this wheelchair?
What would you rather do? Bash, like the dude's in a wheelchair. Bash the dude in the head with a potted plant. Yes, some people go to the store and they are capable of walking or running, and maybe they've got some injury or something, and so they're in a scooter or something like that. That's another thing that, again, I understand that. So you can't just let the guy roam around with a knife. I get that too. But did you have to, in that case, use deadly force? I'm thinking to myself, I'm yelling to every person, tell employees, I'm saying, get inside, lock the doors, no one in or out. Tell everyone, no one in or out. And isolate this guy out in the parking lot. That's fine. And then wait for more people to show up and then bash this dude in the noggin or hit him physically with something from a distance the best that you can to get the knife out.
Right.
You
And
know,
I see a lot of people.
How fast is the scooter going to go? Not as fast as a human.
I see a
feet.
lot of people in the chats, and you guys are bringing up some great ideas. Like maybe we tase them. Well, maybe this cop doesn't have a taser. I didn't have a taser until my last 2 years.
A lot of places don't carry batons anymore.
A lot of people don't carry batons. Now let's just change the facts, change the outcome. Let's say this officer does get creative and says, fuck this dude, I'm going to hit him in the back of the head with this baton. And he goes and he cracks this dude. Now we've got police officer whacks guy in wheelchair in the back of the head with a baton. He's still in the same boat. Right. And we're still having the same conversations. Some people
we got to make
why
sure,
didn't you just,
we got to make sure that we're not painting this guy like the dude is threatening people with a knife. I mean, he's not just some innocent dude, you know, roaming around Walmart that got shot for no reason. That's not what happened, you know, like, so put it in perspective. He's still responsible for being in that situation as well. We don't want to just eliminate that responsibility. We're addressing the question, was the use of deadly force in that moment from that officer the wisest decision? Is this a bad shot? We'll have to see by Arizona law and use of force laws as it comes out.
And here's another,
whether or not legally was he justified. That's a different question than practically was that the right decision?
I think legally he's justified. I don't think it was the smartest decision he could have made.
It does not seem to me from a cop perspective that the decision to use deadly force in that moment was necessary.
You don't think it was necessary?
No.
You don't think that he can articulate that there was a woman standing right there and he was wheelchairing his wheelchair right towards her and she was frozen and not moving and she wasn't doing anything to get out of the way of this dude wielding a cake knife?
Again, maybe.
I think you can articulate that.
Maybe you can
very
articulate
well.
that.
And again, I'm not saying that I would. I'm telling you
practically.
right now, I don't think. I can tell you right now, I think 100%. I'm not using deadly force in that scenario. It's just not going to happen.
Neither am I.
But I've also had a lot more training than a lot of other people have, and I have a different brain that works differently. And I love critical thinking, and I love to try to figure out how to get things. But I also went to the police academy, and I also went to basic training, and I see what kind of smart people go through these types of trainings, and I also see the dumbest people that make it through these type of trainings. And so when you take it down to the least common factor, the least common denominator is, you know, like when you go for a run, you put the slowest guy up front. Well, that's also how we have to look at these cases as the guy that has the lowest of the low. And I'm telling you right now, especially if this guy's a younger cop, he's a rookie, maybe he's never been put in this kind of scenario. I don't see a cop going to jail he didn't show up that day to first degree murder a black man in a wheelchair. I mean, this guy chased this guy around the parking lot.
I thought he was white.
I don't even know.
He looked white to me, but
could be whatever. It doesn't matter the race. I think it's just that this guy spent a lot of time going around the parking lot trying to figure out what to do. I think this is a training error. I think this is 100% police department's fault. I see nothing from the check-in officer that brings up any other points or ideas on how to deal with this. I don't see any critical thinking, and that's a training flaw. I bet you if you went back and you looked at these guys, that they're all just doing the bare minimum training techniques, which I see coming out of when, our academy for the police department was very much like the military. It was very difficult, very regimented. There was a lot of critical thinking. There was a lot of, let's do this over and over again. But then we have cops that come out of community college that have just done the bare minimum, and they have solutions to some of these scenarios where you're like, what the fuck are you thinking, dude? Absolutely no, we're not going to do that. Like, we're going to take a step back and we're going to look at this and we're going to discuss things and make things happen. But not everybody has that type of training or that funding, which comes back to defunding police. We need to refund the police and get better training.
It'll be interesting how this shakes out because, again, I look at this situation based on my experience and the advantage of after the fact. And I look at this and I go, yeah, I don't think that deadly force was necessary. But I also recognize that legally, that might not be how this shakes out. And that's something that the general public really needs to understand, is there is a difference between the wide range of options that are available within the discretion of officers or regular citizens when it comes to engaging others physically to defend yourself or whatever. There's a wide range of options. And then there's sort of like the letter of the law, right? You need good cops who understand the spirit of the law and the boundaries and that's wisdom, right? Wisdom is understanding how to avoid being in certain situations or options that you have in front of you when you're in those situations. And then you've got the letter of the law, which kind of like creates these legal boundaries, which we need. And this guy may be very well justified within the bounds of the actual law of use of force. So people might freak out that he's either not charged, or when he is charged that he's not guilty of murder. I don't know, because I don't know all of the facts. I don't know what was said. What did this guy in the chair say to the officer?
Or what was the officer's
I don't know. So,
in justification, if that officer says, listen, and we don't know this, right? Because we're not the internal affairs investigators. We're not the outside investigators, the State Bureau of Investigation, or whoever's taking on this case. Once you sit that guy down and talk to him and say like, hey, look, that left hand was up underneath his leg the whole time. And I asked, I told him to show me his hand, and he never showed me his hand. And I thought that, he could have a gun in the hand.
If he's got a knife, maybe he's got a gun.
And I said to myself, I cannot let this guy get into this Walmart, or we're going to have a really hard time. And then I can't shoot him, because then there's going to be people that could get in the way of my bullets. And then this guy could shoot them. So like, you don't know what path he took in that such stressful situation in his own brain, because in his brain, he might be thinking on this one track, because he's not able to critically think because he's under a lot of stress and he's moving around a parking lot. But his thought process may well have been, one, I don't know what else this guy has in his hand. Two, that's a really big knife. I don't know if this guy can get up and run away with it, but I know that I can't shoot this guy in the middle of a Walmart and have too many other victims, or take the chance of this guy doing that. And so I made the decision at the last second to that. I saw somebody say that like you could have tipped the wheelchair over backwards. That's really a motorized wheelchair, and they're literally created to not flip over backwards. So I don't think
just because someone's sitting on a scooter doesn't mean they can't get up and run or walk.
Exactly. That as well.
So you have to take that into consideration as well. Is this guy actually incapable of walking or running with that weapon? Or is he just in a scooter because he's lazy, or maybe he's got a bum knee, so he uses a scooter? I don't know. None of us know that. And I know that
and was that the employee that he threatened with a knife? Because if that lady is the employee that he threatened with a knife, it's not the cop's fault that she didn't just disappear. It's not the cop's fault that she was in the direct path of a dude yielding a knife.
Yeah.
He can't make her get out of the way. All he can do is shoot the threat. So, because somebody brought up in the comments that the 911 threat was that he was threatening employees with a knife. So, you got a lot of things that are running through this guy's brain. I think it's way too soon to just go ahead and say that this cop is a dumbass, he's a fucking idiot, and he's guilty of.
Yeah, I know when people reach out and they're like, what do you think about this? And this is exactly how my brain works, right? I'm not in a position. I don't think either of us are taking a hard stand declaring this justified or not justified. I think I look at this and go, from what I see and based on my experience, I don't think that I would have used deadly force in that situation. But I'm also not there, and I don't have the benefit of a lot of other things that what did he see? What did he feel? What had led up to this? There's a lot more factors that in time will come out. I get really upset. Somebody said he's already fired. Like, I get upset when departments fire people right away versus letting things happen. The same thing happened with Garrett Rolfe and the shooting of Rayshard Brooks. He's fired within 24 hours. Well, now you're coming up on freaking 2 years later or whatever. Well, a year and a half, whatever it was. And now it looks like he's going to get reinstated because, for crying out loud, you fired him without due process, without the facts of everything coming out.
What if the facts come back that wheelchair guy? And I'm just saying this to be devil's advocate because I see somebody in the chat saying that, like, nah, it's definitely second-degree murder. But let's just say what if, right? Because we don't really know. What if this cop has met this guy before and the guy wasn't in a wheelchair and this guy has a history of violence and this guy has a history of wheeling up to people and cutting them? So we don't know any of these things yet. You don't know if this cop knows this guy, doesn't know this guy. What if he talked to one of the witnesses when he got up there and said, yeah, this dude was like, he got up out of his chair, threatened me with his knife, sat back down in his chair and wheeled the fuck out. Like, we don't know that this guy is just bound to this wheelchair. There's just a lot of things we don't know. Now, it looks bad. Perception is bad. And that's why we have court, right? That's why we have the justice system. And that's why I think that the media is too quick to get up, and that's the problem with viral videos and things like that, is because we're so quick now to base things on what the perception is. When we don't really want to look at the reality. And the perception is, you walk into Mike's office and Elijah's on the floor with blood coming out of his chest, and Mike's sitting there with bloody hands holding a knife. And we go ahead and arrest Mike, when the reality is Mike came in there and saw his son dead on the floor and panicked and freaked the fuck out, tried to get the knife out and tried to stop the bleeding or whatever, because he just went condition black and forgot how to do all of his, first responder things. And he was trying to save his kid's life. So perception is not reality. We can't just barge in and say you're guilty.
There goes my plan to pin my dad for murdering me.
Yeah.
Dang it. So, everyone knows that in order to pin it on me, it's going to have to happen at a gay bathhouse. So.
Yeah. So I think it's just, again, I'm not sticking up for this cop. I mean, listen, the cop could, playing devil's advocate to myself, the cop could be just a real big piece of shit who hates handicapped people. I was like, you know what? Fuck this handicapped guy. I'm going to shoot him 6 times because I want my stateside kill. And I want my stateside to be a dude in a wheelchair with his, cake knife. I don't know. Like,
it's not like the idea
I like to stand with innocent
sergeants are at roll call saying, all right, who do you want to kill today? Black dude? All right, I like where your head's at. What about you? I'm going for a dude in a wheelchair, but I want him to be white and old. Oh, yeah, that's good. Now
that hasn't been done yet.
Yeah.
Does anybody have any Asians? Anybody want to do anything to Asians tonight? Nope. Damn it. All right, next.
Does anyone know any non-binary people in wheelchairs that are blind? Because that would really tick all the boxes if we could off one of those.
Yeah, don't think we've checked that one off the old block yet.
It's not how life works. No. All right, guys, man, we are so appreciative of you listening, going to rate and review the show on Apple Podcasts, slapping the like button and the subscribe button on YouTube if you're there. We've got some news coming next week for YouTube. We'll tell you about that. We are following the Kim Potter case, which is the veteran female officer that pulled her gun and shot someone on a stop instead of using a taser. Her trial's happening. There's jury selection going on. Clear Officer Dages, if you remember, we had Dages' wife on the show. Christine, she came on here and talked about that case, that use of force. That trial is going on right now. And so if you follow Clear Officer Dages on Instagram, she is putting out an update every day during and after the trial to keep everybody up to speed. So those of you that have followed along with that, make sure you continue to do so. Lots coming up for our show for Failure to Stop. We can't stop, we won't stop.
Somebody asked about Night Shift. Night Shift, we've got a guy coming on, and we'll be able to have call-ins on that, but he's one of the leading detectives in a big department. He's a homicide detective. Not only is he that, but he's the writer in a pretty popular magazine. Not sure if we're going to disclose that magazine or not. We'll wait till he gets on the air, but he's going to talk. He's really big into skateboarding and punk rock and the whole under punk ground music scene as well. And this guy is just a very complex detective, which probably might make him one of the best detectives. And again, I'm not going to I don't know what he wants us to say, so I won't even say a coast, east or west coast, but it'll be pretty interesting to talk to him about some detective stuff where, and what's led him to be one of the more successful detectives. And again, I don't know what he wants me to say right now. We haven't had our meeting, but that's kind of the basis on what Night Shift might entail on Tuesday night.
Yeah, Night Shift is interesting Tuesday night since I might not be able to be there. We got to figure that out.
Oh, really?
we got to figure out our schedule.
Oh my gosh.
Plus, there's other things that I want to do. I want to interview more guests.
Yeah,
I want to do some true crime stuff. Man, we got a lot coming on, guys. We appreciate you. The Wolfpack is where it's at, and Scott Rogers has got Mobile on lockdown. But if you want to claim your presidency at your local chapter of the Wolfpack, all you got to do is just say it out loud. I guess. Go to TikTok.
Thanks, guys.
Do #Gugu, and we'll follow you on TikTok, and you can run your own chapter of the Wolfpack.